I'm Danny Carter-Iddens, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and the founder and creator of Taking Back You. The month of May is so special for moms, and this May should be no different. And Mama, you are facing a unique opportunity right now. This is the perfect time to get started on that dream business that you always wanted to start, or to level up the business that you've started but haven't had the time to grow. And that's why I created Mom Business May. Join me for this free 30-day online workshop that takes you step by step and shows you how to start and grow your own business. And even better, throughout the month, I'll be joined by an amazing group of mom bosses whose main goal is to help you make your entrepreneurial dreams your reality. Just think, by this time next month, you could have the beginnings of a great business on your hands. Claim your spot by visiting facebook.com/groups/mombusinessmay2020 or visit dannycarteriddens.com for more information. Also, be sure to subscribe to this podcast to hear from seasoned mom bosses every week in May. This May is going to be one for the books, and I can't wait to get started. Hello. Welcome to the Taking Back You Momcast. Hi guys, how you doing? It's Danny Carter-Iddens, your host, and in just a few minutes, we will be joined by Emma Farrick, who is the owner and creator of ELF Operations, which helps business owners get to the next level of their businesses by organizing their systems and helps them execute their grand visions. But guys, today, Emma is not going to talk to us entirely. She will talk to us a little bit about business, but Emma's going to talk to us about another topic that is very near and dear to her heart, and it is the topic of domestic violence. So Emma is going to tell her story, and I think that she tells it way better than I ever could. But before we get into that, I want to invite you to share and to subscribe to this podcast, because doing that is the way we get this information out to people. Emma, the story that she's going to tell today, you guys, it is one of, I honestly, I can't believe some of the things that I heard and some of the things that I learned, but what I am finding out is that there are people who have gone through extraordinarily difficult experiences who are pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and doing a new thing, you guys, and Emma is one of those people. She's a mama. She is one of my favorite new people, and I'm so excited to share her with my listeners today, with you guys today. I'll be back at the end of the episode to share a little bit more about Emma and how you can get in contact with her. There's some resources that we talk about in the episode that I want to share with you, and that will be in the notes for this episode. I hope you really enjoy this episode and just find everything that we discuss useful and resourceful, and have a wonderful time. I'll talk to you after the episode's over. Coming to you straight from Indianapolis, aka the Circle City, this is the Taking Back You Momcast. The Taking Back You Momcast is a witty, authentic, and sometimes sarcastic podcast for millennial mamas who are in the thick of mom life. And I'm your host, Danny Carter-Iddens, wife, millennial mama, motivational speaker, and motherhood advocate. Hello, everyone. I am here with Emma Farrick, and she's the owner and creator of ELF Operations, which helps business owners get to the next level in their businesses by organizing their systems and helping them execute their grand visions. But today, Emma is going to talk to us about something very different. She is going to share her experience with domestic violence with us, and she's going to share about how it began after she had her first child. And the reason she's going to do this today is because she wants to share her story so that if anyone is experiencing this situation or this type of treatment, they can hopefully find the courage and the strength to get help or to leave the situation. Emma is a mom of a very adorable 2-year-old daughter. I saw her. She's really, really cute. And she lives in Pittsburgh with her boyfriend and her sister. Hi, Emma.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on the show and just for, being brave and discussing this topic. I've shared this with my listeners before, but I kind of did a post on social media where I was just asking people like, hey, I'm looking for people to be on the show and I want to talk about certain topics. And this was a topic that I did not even think of. But when Emma responded, she shared this with me and I thought, oh my gosh, yes, this is definitely something that we should talk about and that does need to be talked about. So I just thank you so much for being brave and and talking about this, because it's not an easy topic. But before we get into it, I just want to ask you, how are you doing with everything that's going on right now in our world? Yeah, how you doing?
I think I'm gonna probably say a not normal answer, but I'm actually doing really good. I'm happy with everything, and I think that I'm trying to see the positive side of everything that's going on, and I'm making some big shifts in my business and in life. So, and I think this pandemic was really what I needed, personally, to get that stuff
And that's
moving.
awesome. Yeah, I did a talk with a group of women in Ohio. And we kind of talked about that same thing where you can look at this and be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that ever happened. Or you can look at this as an opportunity to do things that you haven't been able to do because you didn't have the time. So I think you're right. It's all about perspective. And I think probably the fact that you have that perspective about this situation is probably may kind of feed into and have a little bit to do with how you kind of got yourself out of past situations. So I know this is a tough topic, and like I said, I wanted to thank you for coming on the show, but can you tell us a little bit more about your story and kind of what happened to you and what you did to get out of your situation?
Yeah. So kind of like you said, I think how I'm responding to everything now, being able to respond in crisis is something that I definitely did learn when everything happened. So to like give a not a brief, but like the overarching of everything that happened, I met my ex, which is my daughter's father, um, right before my senior semester in college. So I had just turned 21 when we met. I was working a really good job in internship. I just was really excited. I was pretty like naive at the time, I'm gonna say, because I just kind of fell for a lot of the red flags that had happened. We started seeing each other, and then next thing you know, I was in a position where it was my senior semester. I was trying to find a job. Was working two jobs, and then on top of that, I found out that I was pregnant,
Mm.
and that was really, really hard for me because I was a type A person. Everything was going to go as planned. Um, and then all of a sudden, it definitely wasn't going to go as planned. And that hit me really hard. And that made it even easier for me to become manipulated and in a weakened state where I, where I was easier to be in that abusive relationship, because what an abuser does is they really feed on fear and isolation. And I think as a lot of new moms, they can attest that you, especially with postpartum, that was
Hmm.
like a huge part of my journey. And looking back, I don't think I had postpartum as bad as I thought I did, because a lot of it was mental abuse that he was inflicting upon me. And it was his abuse and his emotional turmoil that was really causing my um, postpartum to be as heightened as it was. And eventually, after letting things slide, there was a lot of mental and emotional abuse. That is what it first started out as when we moved in together. Because I started working right after school, and he was trying to support us, making all these false promises like, I'll take care of you. Um, he tried to get me to quit my job so that I would be
Mm.
completely dependent on him. And there was a lot of financial abuse as well. And a lot of that eventually led up to and built into, where it was actually domestic abuse and it was physical.
Okay.
And
So
this
it didn't start
happened,
off so it didn't start off as physical right away.
no, it wasn't until my daughter was at least 6 months old.
Okay. That's interesting.
So we had been together a little over a year at that point, and a lot of people and a lot of abusers, I think, and a lot of people, women can or men can relate that it's very hidden until um, until they feel like they have you very trusted. There's like a cycle
Mhm.
um, of abuse that happens, and then the cycle of abuse gets worse and worse. And that's what happened with me, where first it was just like a grab on the arm or like a firm like one, and then it escalated to a slap in the face. It was
Mm.
um when he was drinking, then it was not when he was drinking, and then it finally led to the night where everything kind of blew over and I got the worst of it. And um my daughter was in the next room over. He had a son from a previous relationship. He was still in the house as well. And it was late at night. And I said something he didn't like. He had been drinking and he came at me from behind. I didn't even see it coming, back of the head with a laundry detergent bottle. And I ended up I was just so beside myself. I didn't even know what to do
Mhm.
except that I knew I had to leave. He took my phone from me, um, told me I wasn't going to call the police. I was to clean myself up, go to bed, and that I was lucky to be alive. And that is what really stuck with me. And the fact that I
Mhm.
was still bleeding from the nose because I had a broken nose, um, was like, I have to get out because of prior experiences I had from family members, things that I had heard. I was like, I have to leave. And I had to leave my daughter there because I knew if I took her with me in the middle of the night, um, that he would just fight me more. So he let
Right.
me go, just acted like everything was normal. Um, I left in a panic state. I went to the police, and luckily in PA, if you have physical if you can see that there's physical harm to a person, they will and have to arrest that person on the spot. So when I went to I wouldn't say mother-in-law, but his mother's house that was down a couple blocks, um, there, and had them call the police is actually what happened because I didn't have a phone.
Right.
So then that started the whole process of, okay. And like in my head, I was like, if you do this, there's no turning back. Like you have to go forward. And I knew that was what was best for me and my daughter, and going through that legal process of filing for a PFA. And for those of people who don't know what that is, it's a protection from abuse order. And um, going through the process of figuring out how am I going to apply for custody, what's going to happen, how am I going to afford all this, and staying strong, not only for myself, but for my daughter. And that's kind of where it kicked off the whole like recovery process, I'll say.
Right.
Um,
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's and yeah, you know, I always speak to guests before, but we just kind of did like a kind of meet and greet chat. So even this is the first time I'm hearing the full story, and wow. My gosh. I just wow. So I'm really interested in this kind of what you said where, and I guess for people who have not experienced anything like, you know, abuse, I think we might be shocked to hear this, but it didn't, like you said, it didn't necessarily start with physical violence right away. Um, and I think that's very interesting because I guess I don't, maybe stereotypical kind of almost, what people think of as like abuse or, you know, violence or whatever. And so I think it's interesting that you said it kind of built up.
yeah.
And so tell me a little bit more about that, like the kind of the signals or behaviors, that like maybe, you know, looking back on it now, and what is that? Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
You look back on it now and you're like, oh, okay, that's what that was. That's what was happening.
Yeah. And for those of like people who don't, like you said, maybe have never experienced it before or been through it, um and looking back at this, is all stuff I didn't really pay attention to when we first started dating, because I was just like not aware, and a lot of it was my personality type contributed to this, because I am so trusting of people,
Mm-hmm.
and I always try to look for the best in people, um but short fuses is one of them. um and a lot of people who distribute, or who are abusive will have kind of sort of a bipolar, and their mental state and their actions are very repetitive. um, there's a lot of deflection. Take um, they don't take like accountability for their actions. It's always the other person. At first it's little things like, and when you're just first dating someone, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna try to let that slide, or you're just like just getting used to their personality type. And um, the deflection and projection were two big things I definitely ignored, where little things that I should have picked up on, um, were totally just that's what contributed. In it, like slowly built up, like he pushed his limit on little things to see how much he could push before actually taking those um, further actions. And a lot of it was that abusers do is they try to get you isolated, or they
Mm-hmm.
try to control your fear. So I whether this was intentional or not, and I think my personal belief is that it was, is what he did was a very specific type of abuse. Of He wanted the control so bad, was that I think he intentionally tried to get me pregnant, so that that was
Mm-hmm.
like some form of control, where
Wow.
um which, like, this is the first time I'm talking about this. So this is very like raw for me, and well, not first time I'm talking about it, but publicly. So there's like they just try to do power moves that
Yeah.
they slowly encroach upon you, and financial abuse is definitely one I think that is more common. Um, because they'll like get in your ear, and they like get to know you and your fears, and they build you up. And this is like all from a book. I know we had talked about this before, and I
Mm-hmm.
found the name of the book that I read after everything had happened. It's called Psychopath Free: Recovering from Emotionally Abusive Relationships. And that's shed a lot of light on this, the cycle that an abuser will go through. They build you up so much and make you feel like the most important person in the world. And that's what it was like for the first 6 months of our relationship. Like, he did
Wow.
nothing but nonstop spoiled me. And so at 21, you think that's great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we went to bars, I didn't have to buy alcohol. And he was substantially a bit older. He was 10 years older than me. But at the time, I was dating guys older than me because of just the maturity level.
Right.
And you think you can trust someone. And then a lot of things looking back is past the point of the point after finding out we were pregnant, was when a lot of truth started coming out, where he had lied about a lot of things, like um, that I should have seen were red flags, which I
Mm-hmm.
did see as red flags then, but at that point I was a little bit more stuck than I would have liked.
Right.
And when you're pregnant, you're like, I don't know what to do. So I think that added a layer up to it that a lot of people maybe don't experience. Is it because if you don't have kids with someone, it's a whole different dynamic to the relationship. And um, so I think that the financial and emotional, just like the
Mm-hmm.
cycle and the buildup, and they get you to turn on family and friends,
Wow.
is like kind of where it really starts for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. I know. No, I it's interesting. I'm listening to you speak, and I am realizing, and I've been married to my husband for, I don't even know how long we've been married, because I just feel like we've been together forever. We've been together for like 12 years, 12 and a half, a long time. But um, I'm listening to you and I'm realizing that the person that I was dating before my husband, a lot of the stuff that you were saying, that is, yeah, uh, that is, yeah, wow,
A
that's
lot of
interesting.
people can relate because I've been through a little bit of different groups and
Hmm.
readings, but they want you to think that you're the only one feeling like that. And then
Right.
people that get out of the situation or don't know how to get out of the situation, they feel even more isolated, which makes them like go back to that
Yeah.
person. So like support groups and networks to get out are huge for people who are in that situation. And
Yeah.
like I was so fortunate to have a very firm family, and I had an aunt who had went through a similar situation. So that's how I even knew like so much of what to do and like what the next steps were.
Oh,
Like
that's,
getting that PFA immediately for myself and for my daughter.
mm-hmm.
Um, and like taking the necessary legal actions through all of it um, is something so like it's hard sometimes to take the high road and take that legal action even if you don't agree with what they're implementing. Just from my own personal experiences, that it wasn't always great, and I know a lot of women go through this. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I think it's so important for
No,
women.
this is very important. No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. For the legal aspect, because I remember one of the most powerful things, I had a public defender lawyer helping me when we started this whole process. And one thing I wish I could go back and do was hire someone. I know it costs a lot, and I know that's not always an option for women, but
Right.
you get what you pay for. And a public defender looked at me and said, the system is reactive, it's not proactive. So even after all this happened and it was so horrible, I still had to share my daughter with him. Luckily, because of how physical it was and the everything and how disrespectful he was. So him not being able to keep his cool in court and not act appropriately
Mm,
definitely played in my favor. So you always want to look like the one who's more in control and
mm-hmm.
things like that. He ended up only getting her for 2 days a week, um, but only during the day and no overnights, which was huge for
Good.
where we are now because he continuously digress through the whole situation. If he would have behaved and acted right, like he probably would have had more time by now through the court's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but because of that, he is down to only supervised visits. So you may not agree
Wow.
with everything at first. Um, and I definitely didn't because I was so fearful to leave not even a 1 year old. She wasn't one at the time. So to leave a baby with
Yeah. Oh
someone like that.
no. Mm-mm. Yeah.
And it's
Mm.
hard. I know a lot of men and women, because I don't want to just say women are in this situation, um,
Right. Yeah.
to
Definitely.
take that emotion out for your kids.
Yeah. Wow. That. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine leaving a baby. Even under the best circumstances, as a mom, leaving your baby somewhere. Um, I know how hard it was to when my son was a baby to just even go to the store without him. I just felt like I didn't have my, arm, if I didn't have him with me. And so, yeah, I can't imagine leaving your daughter in a situation like that and being required to. But the good thing is that it seems like people, he's, if nothing else, he's consistent. So he did what he he did what he do, and he managed it. He kind of got him, like you said, he regressed, and so he lost even the few privileges he had. He's lost those.
Yes.
So that's, I guess if you want to find a little bit of a silver lining in that situation. So tell me more about your network of support. You said that your aunt had also gone through something similar. So she was able to kind of help you navigate through what you needed to do. She told you to get the PFA right away, which that's news to me. I would not have known. I've never heard of that before. So that is news to me. So it's actually something very interesting, and it's something that I'm glad that I know now, being in the position that I am, where I speak to a lot of women all over the country. So tell me about your network of support. I'm assuming your aunt was part of it, obviously. Who else did you have, or did you have family, friends, maybe an outside group of people or anything like that?
Yeah. So my aunt was a huge part of everything because we had to kind of like backpedaling into the PFA. I literally left the hospital because I chose, and that's another thing I want to add. If you do call, like if you're getting abused or experiencing this, you want to call the police as soon as possible. I know it's very uncomfortable, but you need to document that. You need to document every single time, because I had pictures and screenshots and text messages that I had saved every time it had happened prior to show like a pattern, but it wasn't as valuable if I would have called or
Mm-hmm.
done something sooner. Um, but so documenting everything you can, because that helps so much for my PFA when filling out the paperwork. And just like, it's hard to fill out that paperwork when you're so emotional. So when I left the hospital, before I left the hospital emergency people were actually like the first important people in this journey, because um, that's why I went to the hospital, was to document everything, to get a CAT scan, to get photographs taken. Like it was all so that other people could see it. And the nurses there were the first ones, because they see this, they see this more
Mm-hmm.
than you would expect. And they were very, very encouraging to me to keep going on the path, that it's a hard path to go through, like getting out and separating yourself from that. But just offering me that support, encouraging me to call my parents and tell them, because I was so scared to lean on them and to let them know what had been happening.
Because you
So
were
they
only
were huge.
22, right? You at this
Yeah, I
point?
was
Yeah.
22 at the time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So I called them. They lived 2 hours away. They dropped everything to come to the hospital to come and get me. um, Took me to fill out the PFA. So on the weekend in PA, it's kind of, it might be different in every area, but it's called night court, is where you would
Mm-hmm.
go and fill out the paperwork, because it was on a weekend. So nothing was really open, but it's an emergency night court type of thing that is open during all hours, so that you can go and fill this out. Um, and you document the abuse. You like have to present a case on why you feel that your life is in danger and why you're doing this. And then you will go through a proceeding in front of an actual hearing like a week or two later. Um, but so the emergency one's only good for like on a weekend, just
Right.
that's like a technical thing for people to know. But so my parents were huge in all of this, and they came to stay with us um, because I filled out the PFA. I got kind of ownership of our house that we were renting at the time, and it was legally binding for him to not come near it or anything. He had to go through a police officer to get some stuff out of the house, because he couldn't be there by himself. And I actually ended up dropping a bag off at the police station because I didn't want him anywhere near the house.
Right.
Then going through the process of like getting the locks changed and all that. But they stayed with me for a whole week, which was huge. And then trying to figure out the next steps of, okay, I don't want to stay in this house, because there was just so much
Yeah.
fear to live there, because it also was 2 blocks away from his mom's,
Mm.
where she was running at the time. So that made me uncomfortable. So I decided to leave. And so what happened was my aunt luckily lived close enough that I could live with her for a short temporary time, and still be able to like work at my normal job. But for women who maybe, or men who don't have that option, and this is a resource that I definitely utilized and recommend many other women utilize, is the women's shelter. There's a lot of areas that have them. It might be different names, but if you Google them, they should come up for your area. They're state and locally funded organizations. So the Pittsburgh Women's Shelter is where I went through. And if I didn't have my aunt, I could have, they have places for you to stay, for you to take your kid, so that you don't have to stay in that house and it's protected. They offer different services legally and for free or low cost, and they provide you with different necessities if you need it. Because for a little bit there, I didn't want to go to the shelter, or I didn't need
Right.
to, but I was still scared. So they gave me alarms for my windows and for my doors in case I were something were to happen where he'd come back, because a lot of people are unpredictable. So definitely for anyone listening to utilize those free and available resources. I know I said something about the lawyer earlier, but that's very different. Like they have therapists, they have people who donate, and a lot of things going on right now with COVID and the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually seeing an increase of domestic violence issues and reports right now because people are trapped, stuck in their homes. So if you maybe never experienced it, or you can giving back to those shelters, donating like non-perishables, clothes, gift cards. Like I've been trying to do that now with everything going on because they are so useful to them. But in my personal network, I had my aunt and my sisters, and I had a couple of good friends from college that were still living there at the time, and they were so vital in being there
Mm-hmm.
for me whenever I needed it and just giving me that support day to day.
Yeah, it's and I'm really happy to hear that you had that, support, and you had those people in your life. And it's interesting that you would bring up, everything with COVID-19, because that actually was one of the things I was going to ask you about anyway, just because I know that this is I'm seeing on, I'll see on social media someone saying, if you're in a situation, um a dangerous situation, ask me about, and it'll be at, it'll tell them to ask you about something that you know nothing about, but that's
Right.
kind of the signal to let them know that you are, you feel like you are not in a safe situation, and that they can kind of try to help you. So, aside from that, do you have any, things that, and I like the women's shelter. I actually, that's one of our things that when we lived up north in Indiana, we used to donate food items all the time to the women's shelter in our town. And so I definitely 100% support what Emma is saying, because they they provide resources to help you, and there's a lot of times things that you are so worried about, and so when if you are able to get to a shelter, a women's shelter, they will handle a lot of stuff for you so that you can do what you need to do, because a lot of times there's a lot of pieces that have to go together, and they know that. So don't be afraid to reach out to them, or take that step, because this is unfortunately what they do, and what they handle, and so they have a lot of experience with it. But for COVID, with COVID-19, I know a lot of people are stuck, like you said, they're in a bad situation. So do you have any kind of ways that they can, I guess maybe this, I don't know if this sounds weird or not, but like plan to change their situation, or kind of like start a plan to change their situation, even though they might not be able to right now? Just maybe if they can, have something in place where they can, as soon as this is over, or as soon as they are able to kind of have guns blazing, and, do what they can do. Do you have any ideas or tips for that?
Yeah. I think because in my mind, I was in a similar, not a similar situation with COVID, but I knew ahead of time that I wanted to leave, but I didn't
Mhm.
know financially if I could support myself and Charlotte, because I had student loans, I had a car payment, I had a good paying job, but it was just not enough. And like the problem with my paycheck was I was making too much to
Mhm.
even qualify for a lot of programs that you could take advantage of. Like for childcare, if you make under a certain amount, you can get support in childcare. You can find different resources that way. So I knew ahead of time that wasn't going to be able to financially support myself with rent and bills. So I started saving a nest egg long before I left, which was really my saving grace for that short time period. So save what you can. If you're not going out to eat right now, if you're getting the stimulus check and you don't need to use it for bills or something, like obviously to live, I would definitely recommend saving that if you can. I know a lot of people maybe already have shared bank accounts. Try to get something in your own name where they don't know if they are going to work and you're not. Do that while they're not home, because I know it sounds bad to say like do it in secrecy, but you don't want to do something that's confrontational, because then you're not going to be in control through the situation, because they're going to try and take control. And I know in my case, I was a lot smaller than him, and there was no way I was going to be able to like confront him on this, or they're not using like any logical part of their brain. So you want to avoid confrontation, but saving up that nest egg, getting a bank account in your own name. And if there's a lot of people who maybe, back to the financial abuse, a lot of women have trouble, or men, they let their partner take over the finances and they don't even know how to pay their bills or how to set those accounts up. Start looking into it. Learn as much as you can. Look, there's so many free resources. There's so many things with YouTube now. There's classes to teach you how to do that kind of stuff. Just basics, like and things that you can utilize. So take this time to mentally prepare and find resources, save as much money as possible. And I was, even before I left and before it, because I wanted to leave amicably, and I think we both knew that it was eventually going to happen, but we weren't at a point where we were ready to admit that. I had been looking for places before, because a lot of our fights were like, the first big fight that was kind of physical that I should have done something was on 4th of July. He kicked us out. Like literally that night, put me and Charlotte on the porch.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Because I wasn't going to leave without her, and he knew that. And I had to take her car seat in a bag and Uber to my friend's house.
Oh my gosh, Emma.
Because I had like a few drinks. I didn't want to drive. I was coherent, but I wasn't going to drive in that state. So I took an Uber to my friend's house, and I, at that fight, went back and packed up all my stuff, I put it in a storage facility, and was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Spent the night at my aunt's house, spent the night at my friend's house. My mom and dad took Charlotte at that fight, but he like tried to get me to come back, promised me he was going to go to therapy. We were going to go to couples therapy, and we did, but eventually he was like, I'm too busy with work, I can't do this. But that was like my condition to come back, which he went to a few to like let everything simmer down, and then everything went back into the cycle. Because because at this point I was going to therapy on my own for postpartum, and then we were also going to couples therapy because that's what he was blaming everything on. And they're very good at manipulating people even when they're not paying attention. So he even got the therapist, our couples therapist, to not so much turn on me, but get to make her think that it was all my postpartum.
Oh my gosh.
In a way. So I didn't even want to go back at that point.
Yeah.
I was like, you're always on his side. It's always me having to work on something, not him taking ownership. He's the one with the anger. Like,
and you think the therapist would be able to see through this? Like, you are a therapist.
Yeah. Well, we only went to 2 sessions before he's like, I'm not going again.
Yeah. Okay. So he didn't even really give it a
fair go.
Yeah. And that's right. Yeah. And I know of a situation of a family member right now where that's kind of what the situation is not even really giving it a fair go, giving therapy a fair go, because it's not, other things are more important according to them.
Yeah.
So I want to do
that's a sign.
Yeah. And that's, I like that. And that's a sign. Haha. that, look at those things. And like I said, I really do think, hindsight is 2020, because I'm looking back, because I was actually in a similar relationship at like probably around the exact same age that you were in this relationship. And now I'm wondering, and I'm glad I don't know, but what would have happened if I had continued? Because I had one of those days, it was like you said, you feel like you're the only, you two are the only people in the world, and
Yep.
you're the only one experiencing this. And I remember he used to tell me, and he even did at the beginning of the relationship, lavishing, spoiling, so many different things. And then slowly but surely that cut off. And then it
Mm-hmm.
started to be, he didn't want to spend time with me and my friends. So it was only me. He only wanted to spend time with me.
Yep.
And then after that, then we couldn't even go places anymore. So he only wanted to spend time with me in my apartment. We couldn't go to his to his house where he still lived with his parents, which I guess was probably another um
Yep. Another sign.
another sign. But it was just a lot of things now that I kind of chalked up to, like, oh, we were in grad school, we were figuring ourselves out. But now I'm looking at it in kind of in the light of what you're saying, and I'm realizing, oh no, that was the beginning. And if I had stayed longer, and if situations hadn't changed, because what ended up happening was I saw that I met this cute boy in grad school, um, and ended up dumping that guy, and that cute boy is my husband. So I wonder
Yeah.
if I hadn't, if that hadn't happened, how long I would have stayed, and how long I would have, what would have taken place, and how it would have progressed. And I'm glad that I don't have to know, and we'll never find out. But
Yeah,
I want
that's the good thing. And a lot of people are lucky enough, not lucky enough, or lucky, smart, pay attention, whatever word you want to use, to not experience that. So I'm really happy you didn't have to experience that.
thank you. But I think that, like I said, I wanted to discuss this because I think that, and even looking at my friends in college, and experiences that my friends had in grad school and in college, and even in our early 20s, early to mid 20s, I'm not exactly convinced that, we, several of my friends were not going through the same thing, um, that they were not, experiencing the same thing. And so it is really interesting to speak with you, because, yeah, wow, just thinking back on a lot of the conversations that we kind of almost thought were normal, if that's a weird way to say it.
Yeah.
um like like we liked the drama of it. um
Yes.
if that, like, I can't think of a better way to describe it. But I remember one time being in a car with my best friend, and we were driving, and her fiance was following behind us down this road that we used to call Rodeo Road. And he was speeding, and we were speeding, and it was scary, but it was like weird because it also was like adrenaline and
Yeah, you get
like,
addicted to the
yeah,
high
yeah,
feeling, and then but there's always going to be a low.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's
I can agree, and I know I get the words that you're trying to
Yeah, like,
say.
it's weird to say, because I don't want to say like it was enjoyable, but it was definitely a weird, I don't know, phenomenon, I guess.
Yeah.
That possibly explains, not all of why people don't necessarily see the signs right away, but why, how it can kind of build up, and without you noticing it, how it can kind of sneak up on you.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that either. And I had a similar, not like to this extent relationships, but where like the highs and the lows with
Mhm.
fighting, and then they make you feel really good about yourself. Like, and there's like an extent of that in normal healthy relationships where you're
Right.
fighting, but what an abuser does, and I learned that in the book that I had mentioned. I didn't even know that there was like kind of a term, or that so many people did it even if they're unaware, is they not capitalize, but monetize on that
Mm.
high feeling that people are addicted to. So they take it away from you to see what you're going to do to um like
Get
to
it
get them
back.
to bring it back,
Yeah.
kind of thing, like
Wow.
that.
It's
They
like a
use that.
drug.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because I mean, that's what drug dealers do to get you.
Yep.
Get you, see what you're going to do so you can come back for more. This is crazy. I mean, this is so interesting. And I'm just so glad that you are sharing with us today. I want to switch gears a little bit because I do want to talk about kind of the positive that came out of this. And that is that you started your own business. And that's one of the things that we do at Taking Back You, and just kind of what I do, kind of my mission is to help moms, make their dreams their reality, and to take, a situation that you're in right now, and if it's not where you want to be, figure out how to get you where you want to be. So you started Elf Operations, and you described it as an investment in yourself and your daughter's future. So, like, how did all that come together?
Yeah. So it kind of did spiral out of everything that had happened. It was more towards a year later that I started my business, but it was
Okay.
because I wasn't getting child support. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. And instead of allowing the financial dependence on another person, um, take so much control over my life, I wanted to be able to provide for my daughter and for myself. And I started to realize that the company that I was working for, their values and my values with where I wanted to be in life, weren't going to align, and it wasn't going to allow me to live the life I wanted with my daughter. It didn't like have flexibility, and it was just so constraining because there was so many days that year I had to take off for court or take off
Mm-hmm.
for her being sick because I couldn't work from home with this job either because of the nature of it. And so I started researching different ways that I could make money from home, that I could do while I had Charlotte and at night after she went to bed. And I eventually stumbled upon kind of like freelancing virtual assistant work. And that kind of piqued my interest because I could start a business relatively easily and quickly, because I knew my savings weren't going to last much longer,
Right.
because I had said that I was putting money away, and um, I had a little bit left, and I was like, okay, I can either use it to pay off a couple of things of debt that I wanted to pay off, or I can put this money into a course that I purchased to get a return on that investment. And that's what I ultimately ended up doing. I took all of October of last year and November, a part of November with the holidays, and went through these courses just to see how do I even market myself as a VA, what is a VA, which is a virtual assistant. And that kind of led me down the path of starting up my own business. And now I have like a greater vision from all this knowledge that I've learned from the online space of where my business can go and what you can offer people. And that anyone can offer a lot of value for just being like, just for your knowledge,
Right.
and
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
personal experience. Um, so that's why I really started being a VA, and why I started Elf Operations, um, because it really aligned with the value of being able to work for myself, having the flexibility, and I was able to make a greater impact, helping other business owners instead of just working for one corporation
Right.
that maybe didn't value me as much as a small
Right.
business would.
Well, and obviously you are a person who cares about people. That's why you're on today talking about what you are talking about. So yeah, I think that's really cool that you were able to look and say, wait a minute, this is not, these values aren't lining up with who I want to be. And you probably are thinking about your daughter as well, because if she's looking at you, you're thinking, okay, I want my daughter to see me, doing ABC, not this. And that's something that moms always think about. And, it's when you think about your children looking up at you and seeing, using you as kind of like their template, because that's what happens. And so
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that you invested in yourself, which is very hard for moms to do. I think I probably have at least
Yes.
maybe every single podcast episode, I in some way, shape, or form, I plead with moms to invest in themselves. And maybe it's not even to this extent of buying a course online to figure out, how to build your business, but even just like to buy yourself a new shirt or shoes or something, like where
Yeah.
you can feel good about yourself and feel better about yourself, and feel like you are, doing something positive. I like your kind of what you were saying as far as you can teach and you can do your work without being, the quote unquote expert. I think that's a very common myth that a lot of women who are aspiring to, some sort of entrepreneurial aspirations, I think that a lot of them think, well, I don't know anything. Why is anybody going to listen to me? I'm just mom from, Pittsburgh. Why would anybody want to hear what I have to say? But I like that you say, no, that's not it. That's literally not the case. And that's what I share that all the time too. People are, like, what is amazing, and what Emma knows, and I know what Danny knows, and so knows what so knows. And so there are people who are looking for your specific knowledge and your specific skill sets, and they are not necessarily looking for, Mr. Big Expert or Mrs. Big Expert to, drop all these kind of almost sometimes useless information that doesn't really pertain to them. But if they
Right.
can look at you and they can go, oh, hey, this woman's a mom, she's been through some stuff, she's figured it out, she can do it, I'm going to listen to her and I'm going to figure out how to do it too. There is a value in that. And I just really applaud you for knowing your value and knowing your worth and investing in yourself and investing in your daughter's future, and for making sure that the values of, what you do, how you make your living, line up with, who you are. 'Cause
Yes.
I think
Thank you.
that's a hard step for a lot of people. They know that it's something that they want to do, but I don't know if it's necessarily as, I think it's a hard leap for people to make. So I applaud you for that. I think that's a really admirable quality. And I hope, and people who are listening, see, you can do it. You can start your business, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be, pretty. It can be messy. um
Messy action is better than no action.
exactly. I mean, that's how this podcast started. I one day I was sitting there, and my son was in pre-K, and I was just sitting at home and I had nothing to do. And the one thing I knew is I really just wanted to talk to people about how to get something done in 2019. So my husband, who I told you before we started recording, is he's an audio guy. He went to school for it. And
Yeah.
he bought this really nice microphone. So I went on YouTube and I figured out how to plug it into my computer. Because I knew nothing. And I plugged it into my computer and I found Audible, and then I pressed record, and I talked for about 35 minutes. And then I listened and I thought, hey, this is interesting. Somebody might listen to this. Maybe not. Maybe. Who knows? And then I was like, well, I don't want to be raggedy. So I've had my husband help me make a little theme song situation.
Yeah.
And then I have a podcast.
It just takes one step forward to
Yeah.
find like how to do it. And if you don't try, you're never gonna, like, those failures or those little mistakes are gonna help you point to something better,
Right.
or like what you truly want to do. Because you don't know unless you try.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you just don't know unless you try. I agree with that completely, 100%. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I teach dance. And one of the things that I always tell my students is we have like a little mantra, and we say, try, fail, revise, repeat.
I love that.
And so that's what, I swear I'm going to make shirts one day. Because, and you know what? Now I'm saying it. I just said it. I put it out in the universe. I'm making shirts.
I'll
Um,
buy one from you because I love that. I'll be your first customer.
well, thank you, Emma. Yes, because it's something that's been on my, and see, that's the COVID-19 thought process, because that's something that's been on my mind for, 10 years. Because I say to my kids, like 100 times, and I can start with, and my kids know, like, I know, Miss Danny, try, fail, revise, repeat. But the reason I say that is because, in a lot of things, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. Well, duh. It's the first time you've done it. So you're going to try it. It's probably not going to go great, but you're going to figure out what didn't go great. You're going to revise, and then you're going to do it again. And then that time you're going to revise and you're going to do it again until you get to where you want to be. Um, and so my thought process has always been that, um, if we're not doing things that scare us and that we don't know how to do, then like, what are we doing?
Yeah, you're not moving
Yeah.
forward. I know that a lot of people let fear stop them, but fear, and this is something I've worked on and talked to with some coaches that I know and mentors, that fear is just the part of your brain that's trying to keep you safe, but
Mhm.
it's just trying, if you never push the boundaries, you're never going to grow. And I think from my own personal experience, and a lot of people can attest, or if you listen to a lot of podcasts, people who are so like you idolize, or people that you want to be like, they found their purpose or their next thing when they're at their lowest
Yep.
low. That's
Yep.
always such a common theme. Like if I hadn't gone through this, I don't think I would have ever had the courage to put myself out there like I did,
Yes.
and I never would have been the urgency to start my own business. Like I probably would have just kept making excuses, like I don't have time for it, I don't need it. But it's like when you're down to the wire and you have to do something, you're more than likely gonna do it. Like
Right.
your survival mode kicks in.
Yes. And that's, I I'm interested and I'm excited to see the businesses and the things that come out of this time in our history.
Yeah,
Because I think you're right that, when you're down, that's when a lot of the magic happens, because it has to. My grandma used to always say this, and I never knew what it meant, but she used to always say, necessity is the mother of invention. And
love that.
I always thought, like, what the heck does that mean? But now, I get older, I'm like, oh, well, you made it because you need it.
Yep.
You're doing it because you need to. And it was, and I'm sure it was some saying that she had heard her whole life and was just repeating it, but it is true. Necessity is the mother of invention. The reason we have all the things we have is because someone sat there and thought, hey, we need this, or whatever. Even your virtual assistant work is because someone was trying to do these things and realized they weren't that good at it. And so they were like, what if we had a thing where someone who wasn't even here with me necessarily was helping me because they're smarter at this than I am.
Or they just don't want to do it. A lot of
Yeah,
people
that's
find
true
that
too. They just don't want to
misconception.
do it. Yeah. Because they want to focus on whatever, they're focusing on, and they don't want to do those things. And you're like, hey, I'll do it.
Yep.
And I think it's really cool. And that's what I love about being, alive in this time. And that's what I love about, I'll say this is what I love about being a millennial. I feel like our generation has really figured it out as far as like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Um, because it's not always a given, you know,
Right.
that you're going to have a steady paying job. I mean, we've gone through this twice now. My gosh.
Yeah.
We have gone through this twice. Because I remember the recession was right when I got out of college. And then now we're going through this again where, okay, now there's a pandemic and no one can work. So if there was ever a signal for me and a lot of people in my age and our 30s, 30 somethings, is that we're like, okay, you know what? I'm done with counting on a bunch of other people for, my well-being, because it's not working. And so if there was ever a time that you had something that you wanted to do, uh, girlfriend, go for it, because you gotta be able to take care of stuff. You got to be able to handle your things,
Yep.
because
And
we
I
are.
think, yeah, I think a lot of people who do start their own businesses or want to start their own businesses, they're so afraid of, well, my corporate job is safe. Well, right now,
Right.
how safe is your corporate
Mm-hmm.
job and how much control do you have over that paycheck? And
Preach,
with
girl. Mm-hmm.
being an entrepreneur, you need to divert. Like I listened to a lot of financial independence podcasts too when I was going through everything, and diversifying your revenue streams. Like if I have
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 different clients, um, if I lose one, it's not going to be as much of an impact as if I lose that one corporate job where that's my whole revenue
Right.
stream. Or if you have your podcast and then you start selling shirts, then you have that, or you start selling a membership, like you have so much more control over your money than when you're working for a corporate job. And
Yeah.
people have a certain mindset, I think, who are a lot older than us, like you mentioned, millennials are like figuring it out and realizing that um, they're not that safe,
Right.
and they're so afraid of like not having health care and benefits, but
Yeah.
like you can get those benefits on your own, and it's
Yeah.
really not that hard. And the fun thing about owning your own business is a lot of the stuff that you'd be paying for things like benefits, you would be able to pay for them with like a tax deduction because you're
Yes. Yes.
running it. There's like all these hacks that people don't realize or look into, that you benefit from owning your own business. At least for what I've learned from since
Yeah.
starting.
Well, Emma, I want to do something. We're gonna wrap up, but I want to do two things. First, I want to talk because I always ask my listeners something to share, something fun or interesting about themselves, and your fun thing is really cool, so I want to share that. And it's cool in two ways. It's actually kind of like, it's like cool, and then it's also cool, burr. um, but I want to invite you. I In May, I do something called Mom Business May.
Okay.
And I'm doing this on the spot, people. Like, we did not discuss this at all. But
I'm very nervous right now too. I'm like, I don't know what she's gonna
she's
ask.
like, I don't even know what's going on right now. I'm doing this on the spot, but because just based on what you are saying, like, we need you back. We need to have you back.
Aw.
So I would love to have you back for Mom Business May, to even if you don't want to do a podcast, if you can maybe do a video or something, or share something on Facebook, on our Facebook page, on our Instagram, something. I need to have you back because you are an amazing woman, and you have an amazing story, and you have a lot of knowledge that people need.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so yes, I would love to have you back, because yeah, we got more to talk about.
I
I
would
can
love
already tell.
to. I love it. I will talk all day.
Yeah, I can tell we got more stuff we need to tell the people. But
It's easy when you are having good conversation and you're just so easy to talk to.
oh, well, thank you. I will tell you this, my sorority, I was the person, I got in trouble for talking all the time growing up. I mean, I just did. I'll be honest with you. Because I didn't understand how to necessarily take my talent and, use it for good. I just would talk. And I'm a talker to this day, but I did finally learn kind of in college that I had this thing where I could just talk to people, and so it wasn't always a positive, but I think maybe
You
as I got,
turned it into it.
yeah, I've learned how to turn it into a positive. And so it's just one of those gifts that God blessed me with. And, yeah. And my grandma had the same thing. We would laugh. We'd go to the grocery store, and someone would just start talking to her. And I would joke, because I was like, Grandma, they just told you like all their business. And she would go, and I go, did you know them? And she goes, no, people just tell me stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So I know I got it from her. But I enjoy it because I love to talk to people, and I love people. I love when people tell me their stories, and I love when people tell me about their lives, because I'm just always so interested to get to know people. And I'm I find people, when they're walking on the street, it's weird because I want to walk up to them and I want to just be like, hi, how are you? What are you doing? But my husband said that's weird. No.
Yeah, I have gotten that before.
So I'm like, okay. So I figured out how to do it in a controlled environment. But I want to share, just before we go, this one thing. And like I said, my listeners know every time I have a guest on, I ask them to tell me something fun or unusual about themselves. And your fun or unusual thing is really cool. And I read it and I thought I read it wrong. And then I was like, well, what could I possibly have thought it said? But you, you played ice hockey?
Yep, that my sister and I did because I'm the oldest of four girls. So my dad didn't have any boys.
Okay. So that explains a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I always kind of give that preface, like my dad had no boys, so we did a lot with, like, I am like the tomboy of the group.
Mm-hmm.
So ice hockey, I used to go hunting with him, fishing, like all the outdoorsy boy stuff. So, but ice hockey, I played all throughout high school. It's still one of my favorite like things to do in my free time whenever I find some. If I find some this year, we'll see. But we go to Penguins games a lot, and
Okay.
that's like my favorite pastime thing to do.
Well, that is so cool. I remember in high school there was one girl on the hockey team, and I just thought she was so cool. And I just was like, I don't do cold. I actually used to ice skate, but I quit to dance more because
Okay.
I don't do cold.
Yep. It's not easy.
Yeah, I'm like, and of course I know you're working out on the ice, so you're not necessarily like freezing, but I just can't. So I think that's really cool that you played ice and your sister did too.
Yep.
So were you guys like the only girls on the team, or did they have like a girls team, or were you guys just like on the team and this is what you did?
So we lived north of Pittsburgh, so in Erie, PA, which is it's a very popular sport there. So we played on a girls travel team out of New York. So we would drive an hour to an hour and a half, depending on where practice was, because we were like a combined team between two
Yeah.
cities. So we would spend most of our time during the week, which I think this really helped me later in life with my business, like juggling school and driving to
Yeah.
practice and a job. So we would drive to New York for games and practices and tournaments, and but it was awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's a great team sport. So
Wow.
yeah, it was
Oh
a whole family thing.
That is so cool. That is really cool. And I know I'm learning because my sister-in-law lives and so you refer to it as PA. Is that like
Yeah.
how, okay, I got to know like the lingo. She actually just moved back to Connecticut, but she was living in PA for I'm like, I'm cool now. A little while, and she was explaining to me that like New York is not even that far. I don't know what I thought. Like I was an English major. I know nothing about the country and where things are. But yeah, so this is the second time I'm hearing this. So this is true. You could be in Pennsylvania and New York. Okay, wow.
Yeah, because like where Erie is, it's like in this little portion where it's like a tiny little slot right between Ohio and New York. So and it's smack dab in the middle. You could be in Ohio in 45 minutes, or you could be in like New York State in 45 minutes.
That's amazing. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to figure that out. We always, we do a lot of road trips for vacation, which hashtag we're not doing this year.
Yeah, sad.
But yeah, I know, right? Like, wah, wah. But we always go west, and
Okay.
we go south. So we usually head down south or we go west. We've never gone east before. So we're going to have to like make a concerted effort to go east. And I'm going to learn all that stuff. Cause I can tell you anything if you head west. I know all of it, but I know nothing. Like funny story. My son was asking something about Pennsylvania. Cause, you know what it was? I was telling him that I was going to talk to you. And he was like, "Oh, she's in Pennsylvania," and I was like, "Yeah," and I go, "Yeah, it's this next state over," and my husband's like, "Nope,
No.
honey, it's not," and I was like, "Oh,
No, it's not.
I was like, okay, well, anyway.
Not my strong suit, but that's okay.
Yeah, right. Listen, I have strengths. This is not one of them. It's fine. Everything's fine. But listen, guys, if you want to learn more about Emma and what she does and, just all the amazingness that is Emma, you can visit elfoperations.com and you can talk to her and she will help you get your business in gear. I'm also, Emma, if you could do me a favor and share with me the title of that book, you can just email it to me or
Yeah.
message it to me or whatever. I'm going to share that in the notes for this episode, along with just some information on, women shelters in general, because this is not necessarily specific to women. And just some more information, how you can donate, how you can help, if you need any resources. And, I'm going to share all of your stuff on social media so that people can look you up and find you. And you're going to be back anyway. They're going to hear from you again because you are wonderful and we need you back.
I'm so excited. I can't
and
wait to come back.
we need you back. So do you have anything else that you want to share with moms who are listening? And it doesn't have to be about what we talked about. It could be, I don't know, like you think pink Skittles are the best. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to share.
I just think that if you're a mom and you're listening, that you gave birth. There is nothing that you cannot do. You're just blocking yourself. Like, regardless if you're in an abusive relationship or if you don't think you can start a business or this, that, the other thing, you can do way more than you think. And kind of going back to investing in yourself, you can always invest time. If you don't have extra money, just invest time into yourself. Like, give yourself that break. You do not need to have that mom guilt. You need to take care of you. So I'm preaching your message to invest in yourself.
Thank you. Yes, and it's the you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
If I had $1 for every time I said that, but seriously, like you have to invest in you so that you can, invest in your family and take care of the people that you love, because this stuff doesn't just come from nowhere. You have to to put in to be able to give.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
it's just, sorry, that's just the way it is. I know people don't want to hear
is.
that. They don't want to hear it.
They need to hear it.
Yeah, but they need to hear it, and that's just the way it is. Sorry. I'm just gonna tell you. Well,
Yeah.
Emma, thank you so much for coming on today. I just, this is so cool. I just want to thank you for sharing your story, because it wasn't, it's not easy. And I think you said this is probably the first time you've discussed this publicly outside of your family and friends. Yeah. So, I do not take that lightly, and I appreciate the strength that it took to share this story. And so I thank you, and I'm thanking you from my listeners that are going to hear this, for your strength and for just being brave and stepping out and doing something. It really shows your heart that you are willing to come out and say things that need to be said, because it's scary and it's not
People
fun.
don't want to talk about it sometimes, but it definitely needs to be talked about.
Yeah. That's just, those are the facts. And, it's great to have sunshine puppy dogs, but we got to also discuss, some serious issues. And so I thank you so much for being willing to put yourself out there and for doing that.
Thanks for having me too. Like, you didn't even know me before all this, and you were so nice enough to hear me out and let me do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, one of the reasons I do what I do is because all right, I'll be honest with you. I don't feel like moms get heard enough.
Yep.
So that's what I do. I talk to moms, and I want to provide a platform for them to share and to share experiences, because I just feel like if we could just figure it out how to like band together and do this together, man, we'd be unstoppable. So
I agree. Yes. Love it.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonder. What day is it? I don't listen. I don't know what day. Oh, it's Thursday. Well, look at
Yep.
that. It's Thursday. Wow. Yeah, no, my husband and I got into an actual fight last week about what day of the week it was. I was wrong.
I've had that fight.
Yeah, like it was like kind of heated. It was weird.
I'm like, no, you're
Yeah, you are
wrong.
wrong. And then he was right, but it's fine. Everything's fine. I hope you have a great Thursday and the rest of your week. I will message you or email you, if not tomorrow, definitely on Monday, about setting up everything for you to come back. Okay.
Okay, I can't wait. Thank you. You enjoy
Cool.
your weekend too. Stay safe.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. You see what I mean? Isn't Emma just one of those people that you are just, I don't know. I'm just naturally so proud of her and everything that she's accomplished and what she was able to get out of. And I want to thank her so much for being on the show and for sharing her story and for making sure that she helps other people who might be in a similar situation to one that she was in, helping them to make that change and to get out of it and to get help. I'm going to, like I said before, I'm going to share the resources that we spoke about in the episode. But if you are in a dangerous situation and you are in need of help right now, please do not hesitate to go to www.thehotline.org. That is the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and that will help you get resources that you can use right now, or you can call them at 1-800-799-7233. Again, that is 1-800-799-7233, and you can chat with an advocate right now. You can chat with one on their website or by calling that number. It is a national hotline, so if you need help right now, please do not hesitate to do that. We will, I'm going to share that information in the notes, but I just wanted to make sure you had that right now so that if there's something that you need to do, you can go ahead and start doing that and get that into motion. Okay, guys, I know this topic was heavy, but I'm excited that Emma is going to be back. She is going to be one of our moms for Mom Business May. So I am just so excited to have her back. I really feel like she's just she was so great. I feel like I could talk to her for hours. Even though I could talk to most people for hours, I really, really feel like I could talk to Emma for hours. And she's just such a remarkable woman and just a testament to the strength of us mamas and of us women. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. For more information on Taking Back You and the Taking Back You Momcast, visit us at takingbackyou.com. From there, you'll be able to follow us on social media, listen to past episodes, and learn all about the mission of Taking Back You. Be sure to subscribe to get future episodes. And from all of us at Taking Back You, thank you so much for your support.